hearing what Sandra's doing at Mythic and what Amy's doing at Vincerx, just obviously a small sampling of this giant pool of upstart ADC developers, but it gives you a sense, as you well know, for sort of the, I don't know, what's the word beyond bifurcation, just the fragmented approach that each company is facing. I give you a ton of credit, Joe. Like if you were an analyst who studied the monoclonal antibody market, your job would be relatively easy compared to trying to chart who's doing what in the ADC space. There not being a de facto standard per se in this space as sponsor companies go. What do you see in terms of trends? Like how do you see any specific trends given, like I said, just given how fragmented all these approaches are?
Yeah, I think Sandra and Amy both almost touch on every innovation that is happening in the space, and every company is trying to innovate in a couple of places on the ADC, right? So it could be payload, it could be linker, it could be targeting on the antibody side. So there's a trend, obviously, of every company trying to innovate because we are not, 50 years ago, we were working with the same non-specific, non-stable linker. We were working with an unstable linker. We were working with just give me a pembro or give me an antibody and I can just conjugate on it and let me see if it works. And that, the space has failed. So the trend is continuing in terms of innovation. I won't say failed, learnings. So we learned from it, and now we're in a place where innovation is happening. So those three areas where the antibody itself, so engineering and targeting, now is seeing a lot of success in terms of the engineering. I think that took a bit of a backseat for the linker to shine a couple of years ago, and now we're moving a little bit towards antibody engineering as well as payloads. So the antibody engineering innovation, gives you the IP opportunity, obviously, but it also gives you the ability to overcome of what Amy was bringing up, right? You want to get to the right place, so then your linkers cleave in a cell, whatever the cell is, normal or cancer. Obviously you want it to be cancer more, but that targeting is the first step to allow you to have more selectivity and more specificity in the tumor. And I think the trend that we're seeing, or that I think is going to be intensifying in the next couple of years, is the payload itself. So going back to what both Sandra and Amy were talking about, is we're working with pretty similar payloads and pretty similar mechanism of actions. And I think now we're seeing an increase and an appreciation that we can't keep doing that. Resistance coming up, but also there's no opportunity for differentiation much. And then if you're going after, the same target, let's say HER2, if you're going after with the same payload, where's really your differentiation, right? So something like Vincerx with the novel payload themselves, they have some edge there to be able to take some market share in the HER2 space, right? But with that being said, all these innovations are putting a strain on the manufacturing, right? Because more than 70% of processes today are outsourced to CDMOs. So when you're going to the CDMO and you're telling them, well, I have a new linker and I have a new antibody engineering and I want to work with a new payload, that puts a lot of strain on them because they don't have the processes. And with the space that is moving so fast, I strongly believe that the CDMOs and the service providers are able to keep up, but not at the pace of where the innovation is headed. Does that make sense?
It does, and I would ask Amy and Sandra, just as a follow-up to that statement, Joe, to if you wouldn't mind, reflect a little bit on your experiences with the outsourced manufacturing and development communities in terms of having that capacity, capability to keep up with amazing innovation that's happening in your companies. Amy, if maybe you can jump in and just give us some color on what you're finding in terms of the reception from the outsourced community.
Yeah, no one's doing this on their own, so we're all relying on outsourcing. I think when you have, like with us, when we've got lots of unique designs, you need CDMOs that have expertise in each of them. So you may end up with multiple companies that you're working with. And then, for us, someone's building the antibody, somebody's building the linker, somebody's building the payload, and then you maybe even need a fourth company to put them all together. So Yeah, it's complicated, and it takes a lot more time and a lot more money than maybe you underestimate the time and the money that it takes. And I'm sure we'll talk about this, about when do you start the manufacturing, when do you start the scale up, and you need experts. I think that's the clear thing. And so maybe that includes 3 different companies or 4 different companies to help you build. So it makes for a complex and really involved supply chain.
Yeah. Sandra, any additional thoughts there?
No, I think Amy's absolutely right that the supply chains can be incredibly complex with the different multiple different CDMOs. I'm reflecting back to when I joined Immunogen, of course, an ADC company that was around for a long, long time before being acquired by AbbVie. 10 years ago, if you look at the CDMO landscape that had the capabilities to manufacture ADCs, very, very limited. So there's been this huge change in the last, say, 4 or 5 years of companies that have developed, CDMOs that have developed this capability to do the ADC, the conjugation, and the drug product manufacturing, working on, how to bring it all together, and even in some cases, all under one roof. And we do have CDMOs that are capable of doing end-to-end ADC manufacturing today. But the ability to manage these complex CDMO supply chains for a small company, especially early stage, is incredibly challenging and often underappreciated, just the resources and the skills needed to play that oversight role.